Why do we ask athletes, celebrities, and entertainers to address political issues they have no interest in? Why do we hold it against them when they tell you they are not interested in using their platform that way? We are just going to hold it against them if they make the wrong decision. Or the right decision. We have a lot of celebrities who are using their platforms to support our causes. If they are not in that industry, why hold them accountable? Why are we mad? This is what it looks like when we hold our politicians accountable.
I think I can hear you through the screen, so I'm going to play this next clip before I give my opinion.
But neither one of them has said anything about this at all. And people are saying, well, they're not politicians, whatever. They influence hundreds of millions of people, which ultimately has an influence on the world. And you're not choosing to say anything.
You are 10,000% correct. But some are called and some are chosen. And still, the stakes are way too high.
I'm not making light of the situation, but sometimes we gotta laugh at our own pain.
There's something huge happening in your country right now. Do you know what's happening? Okay, fine. Here's a burger. Here's a burger. Okay, now that you have the burger, you can listen to me now. There's a big problem happening in your country. There's a huge problem.
The problem is this. I can eat like 5 of these back to back.
Oh my God.
No, on everything I love.
Bro, nobody's doubting you, bro. Chill out.
I just got rid of 13 pounds.
Trust me, we know. Nobody's doubting you.
This is not the right time.
No, I know it's...
The cameraman knows it's not the right time.
It's all right. Protein.
Listen, bro, your own people own you. You're not Arab anymore. You're not part of us. Never talk about no kanafa, no makluba, none of that.
Makluba. She know about that.
Oh my. You need some...
My remedy is to laugh when I want to cry. So which of these next few clips do you relate to?
All right, so let's have a quick chat about Jalen Hurts avoiding the White House visit and Saquon Barkley, his teammate, going and hanging out with Donald Trump for a day, VIP, what it seems to be a VIP experience. All I gotta say is this, right? No matter what political side you're on, if the president of the United States asks you to come visit or you're invited, you don't give a excuse that you have a scheduling conflict. There is nothing Jalen Hurts is doing that's more important than visiting the most powerful man in the world. And yes, when you are the president of the United States, you technically are arguably the most powerful man in the world. So the fact that he avoided him is disgusting. It's just a very disrespectful thing to do. I honor Saquon Barkley for having a spine and not giving into the media that keeps us bothering him.
Okay, so normally I stay clear as day out of politics with my sports. This is a main sports channel, but I'm starting to see a lot of banter online about Saquon Barkley visiting the White House, specifically visiting Donald Trump to play golf with him. Let me tell y'all something. Athletes can do whatever the hell they want to. Doesn't matter. They're athletes. As long as they perform, as long as they're not out there beating up people, they can do whatever the hell they want to. Saquon has all the right to do what he wants to in terms of visiting the White House, visiting the president. It is what it is. We got to stop putting athletes on a pedestal and expecting them to be somebody when whole time they're totally different. This is his life. It doesn't matter. He's a great athlete, so whatever.
The Eagles visit the White House today, and people are pretty upset because Saquon Barkley was seen hanging out with Trump prior to the White House visit. Apparently, they played golf this weekend, and yeah, Saquon was hanging out with Trump, and yeah, here's another photo. There's a bunch of Trump MAGA hats on the table. But yeah, a lot of people are mad about it and talking about it, so Saquon responded to those people, and this is what he had to say. He tweeted, "LOL, some people are really upset because I played golfed and flew to the White House with the president. Maybe I just respect the office, not a hard concept to understand. Just golfed with Obama not too long ago and look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now, yeah, get out of my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day." I guess he thinks this is like fine because he golfed with Obama. Jalen Hurts was also there when Obama was golfing with some of the Eagles guys and I think the Eagles owner. Yeah. I don't know, the fact that he doesn't understand why people are upset and he kind of equates this to hanging out with Obama is just kind of mind-blowing. But whatever, I'm not an Eagles fan. I don't care. Do what you gotta do.
You got the ball to your superstar running back who I met yesterday, and I want to tell you he's a handsome guy, but I wouldn't want to tackle him. Saquon Barkley. Where's Saquon? He's good. I got to know him a little bit. I offered him a ride on Air Force One because I was coming down. And usually they say, no, I don't think so. He said, I'll take it, sir. And he loved it. And we love being together. He's a great young guy. Complimenting Saquon's historic season was an incredible year from star quarterback Jalen Hurts. And he had a great season and a great game. Finished with 32 touchdowns in the year, turning in one stellar performance after another. Terrific guy and a terrific player.
Are you planning on visiting the White House next week?
Got it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
I knew Jalen would not disappoint. He is confirmed not visiting the White House. According to the White House, he won't be attending because of a scheduling conflict, but I think the conflict is just his moral compass. So thank you, Jalen.
Jalen Hurts is going to be featured in a new Hulu documentary. This documentary is called The Quincy Avery Effect, and it comes out April 23rd. So today? Tomorrow. Quincy Avery is deemed the quarterback guru, and he trains and works out with some of the top college football quarterbacks, and he also has some NFL clients as well. Quincy Avery trained with Jalen Hurts early in his NFL career. I don't know if he's still Jalen Hurts' coach, but I know he was at some point. He also most notably trained C.J. Stroud and Deshaun Watson. The documentary that's coming out on Hulu will feature some of his clients, including Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, Josh Dobbs, Jordan Love, and many more. Y'all know it's the off season, so we don't always get Jalen Hurts content. So when we do, it's like, yes, bring that shit on. I don't know how much we're going to get because it's going to be through Quincy Avery's lens, but we're going to get something. This image was on the promo trailer. Jalen Hurts is wearing an Elite 11 hoodie. Elite 11 is a camp for the top high school football quarterbacks. Now, I don't know how much Jalen Hurts footage we're going to get in this documentary because they showed some testimonials from some players, but they didn't show a testimonial of Jalen Hurts. Like, we got this testimonial preview from Joshua Dobbs. I feel like if Jalen Hurts was doing a testimonial or doing, like, a lot of talking, then they would show that in the trailer because they know, like, we want to see Jalen Hurts. But, you know, something's better than nothing, right? So let's go check it out.
She is 10,000% correct. Something is better than nothing. So which clip did you relate to? Trump's gonna be Trump. So I just live, laugh, repeat. Okay.
Who's gonna help?
The one question we never have: when are we going to organize the black vote before we vote?
That's right.
If you notice, everybody tells us to vote. The politicians, black businesses, the fraternities, the churches, vote, vote, vote. The Urban League, the NAACP, Congressional Black Caucus, vote, vote, vote. Why do you think nobody never says organize the black vote before you vote? So we vote as a block. So politicians know we're doing this as a people. You know why? If we voted as a block, Envy, we could hold people accountable. See, if I vote as a block, I can hold Eric Adams accountable. I can hold Brandon Johnson accountable. I can hold Kamala Harris accountable because she know we went to the polls as a people, united in oneness. But when you vote as individuals, political power is all about mass organization. If you're not organized, your vote only matters to the person you're electing. It'll never matter to us.
So, what do you want? Do you know? Because it all starts with you, all ends with you. So, what do you want? And while you're thinking about that, please enjoy the entertainment on the screen because there is a reason why I am playing that. And that's because there is no guarantee when it comes to humans, right? Some are good, some are bad. Some do right, some not so right. If that's a word.
Mayor of South Fulton is finally explaining thousands of dollars in expenses on his city-issued purchase card.
South Fulton Mayor Khalid Camus says he's been on several trade missions trying to bring international economic development to the city. He tells Fox 5 he talked with the city manager and even council members about his ventures. City Council member Helen Willis disputed that at last month's council meeting.
We're not tearing you down. You took your black behind over to Africa for 20 days and didn't tell anybody.
There have been all of these allegations that I have mishandled funds. We had to create an entire website because when I tried to make presentations about it at the council meeting, the item was removed from the agenda. I was blocked from speaking.
Mayor, why were you on that property?
I just wanted to see the house. I do apologize to the owners. I thought it was abandoned.
Story tonight, a heated council meeting in the city of South Fulton, harsh critiques, and the mayor who walked out before the meeting ended when his use of a city credit card was questioned.
Channel 2's Candace McCowan is in that meeting tonight, and despite the conflict, Candace, there are changes coming.
Yeah, George and Wendy, there is going to be an inquiry into the use of P cards, or that's what they're calling those city-issued credit cards by the firm Baker Tilly. It's not clear how long that review is going to take, but in the meantime, in that meeting tonight, you could cut the tension at times. Mayor Khalid Camus, who's now known as Mayor Kobe, wasn't thrilled about efforts to discuss the use of city-issued credit cards on the agenda.
I'm so distressed and disappointed that the blackest city in the United States of America is heading into Black History Month with its all-black council tearing each other down.
That comment igniting a fuse.
We're not tearing you down. You took your black behind over to Africa for 20 days and didn't tell anybody. No, he called us a black city and that's what the black
This all stemming from expenses made by the mayor. We reported on Channel 2 Action News Monday that Mayor Kobe used his city-issued credit card to pay for a more than $1,800 table for his office that converts into a pool table. In September, he spent more than $9,000 on travel, including flight upgrades, despite that being against city policy. In October, he spent more than $13,000, purchases including high-end electronics and international travel. The mayor canceling an interview with Channel 2 Action News earlier this week. Council members and citizens expressing their frustration Tuesday night.
You guys got to do better. You guys really got to do better.
Eventually, when it was time to discuss new policies, the mayor leaving the meeting, still not giving an explanation of his travel.
I doubt there's an explanation, but I do know that the answer is you. Me, love, live, laugh, repeat cycle. Oh, and by the way, if you'd like to call him, his phone number is on the screen, and he will not be seeking re-election. Speaking of re-election, this guy.
Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, has a take on Shedeur Sanders not being drafted in the first round, and I'm willing to bet it's probably not what you're expecting. He says, what is wrong with NFL owners? Are they stupid? Deion Sanders was a great college football player and was even greater in the NFL. He's also a very good coach, streetwise and smart. Therefore, Shedeur, his quarterback son, has phenomenal genes and is all set for greatness. He should be picked immediately by a team that wants to win. Good luck, Shedeur, and say hello to your wonderful father. Now, I'm just going to say something that I think we all know, even if we might not want to admit it. A lot of people that love Shedeur Sanders, they hate Donald Trump. And a lot of people that love Donald Trump, they hate Shedeur Sanders. But supporters aside, the man is willing to take a stance and say, Shedeur Sanders, it's a crime that he wasn't drafted in the first round. Now, Trump clearly hasn't been watching any film. I think it would have been probably cooler if he talked about Shedeur's accuracy or his composure in the pocket or something like that, but genes works too. All that being said, no matter who the president is or whether you do or don't like them, it would be pretty cool to just be a college athlete and to get a shout out from the president. Personally, I'm just hoping Shedeur Sanders doesn't go to the Browns because I hate the Browns. I want to root against the Browns, and I really don't want to root against Shedeur Sanders.
After the president's Truth Social post, the Browns finally took Shedeur Sanders. Does the president think he deserves credit for Sanders getting picked? And does he think going to the Browns is better than being undrafted?
Hey, I'm gonna. All I will say is the president put out a statement, and a few rounds later he was drafted. So I think the facts speak for themselves on that one, Peter.
Definitely on that one, because he doesn't always get it right. But anyway, guys, congratulations, Mr. Sanders. You did it. You did it. You did it. You worked hard. You deserve it. And now you're being rewarded. So, guys, I got to get out of here. I got to go to my job. Another job. So, what are your thoughts? Should sports and politics mix? Do you agree with what was featured here? I think everything has to do with money at the end of the day. So why not talk to Dr. Boyce Watkins about it? Wait, Trump, don't run. It's just a teaser.
Valerie, focus us back, and we are digressing.
Important people. Would you mind introducing the other VIP, Dr. Boyce Watkins? Could you do that for me? And I will, while you're doing that, I'm going to look to see if Judge is on the board.
Me introduce Dr. Boyce Watkins?
Yeah,
I'm humbled.
please.
I mean, we're talking about
You had so many wonderful things to say about him
the
earlier.
Mount Rushmore. He's on Mount Rushmore. He's on the Mount Rushmore of excellence and brilliance. And Black One, B1. I love this brother.
Same here.
From the first minute I heard him talk. And I love his spirit. I love how he loves on Black people, serves Black people, educates Black people. Right. He does it eloquently and elegantly, but when he finishes with you, you know you got a butt whipping. I love that about him. He is courageous, articulate, learned. He has an incredible spirit and awesome taste in Black women. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. I would go to the ends of the earth with him, and I would do anything he asked. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, none other than Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Amen.
Wow.
Welcome.
Wow. You know, I'm humbled by that because Dr. Fraser he's on. I can't be on his Mount Rushmore because he's already on mine. So you know, I have to just say I talk about Dr. Fraser all the time because there is a real need for additional masculine leadership in our community. We got a lot of 35, 40-year-old little boys out here that need to learn what real men look like. And when I think about what a man looks like, I think about Dr. Fraser. I think about Judge Joe Brown. I think about the other leaders that we have who can really teach us something. You know, I mean, I was sitting here listening to Dr. Fraser speak, and I was really taking notes in my head. Everything from how he communicates, and he takes his time and he gets his points out, and you're learning to also how he gets things done. And I'd say that a big part of the reason that we became great friends and the respect is entirely so mutual is because when he says that all Black people need is Black people, all we need is ourselves. I know I can that message always resonated with me, and I think the community gets that now, right? You know, you can lay out all kinds of theories and economic models that will show simply that if Black people simply learn how to love Black people as much as we possibly cannot fail. We will not lose. You know, and so I just, you know, first of all, thank you for that awesome introduction, and also I'm honored to get a chance to be on the platform. You know, all of us working together, I just can't help but feel like our people are going to be talking about this era for the next 100 years. You know, I think we've laid out a blueprint, not just us, but so many other people in the community, where the world, you can see the world changing. The world's changing right in front of us. And I just really hope people are optimistic. I like the way Dr. Fraser mentioned that this shift, the shift in mindset and the shift in actions connected to that mindset, how it's going to take time. You know, you got to be patient. You know, I know that we see a lot of things in the community that make us say, man, what's going on? And will we ever get it together? What's going to happen? You know, well, you don't reverse 400 years in a 6-month period. You know, it takes a while, and it's an intergenerational objective that we're on. And I believe that the greatest impact and the greatest multiplier from all the work that's being done right now by so many great people, it probably won't really be seen until after we're all gone. You know, and so a lot of times when I'm talking, like I'm going to talk to you right now, I'm not just talking to us and the people in this room right now. I'm talking to the kids that are not even born yet. You know, I just want to make sure the message is there so they can hear it, because, you know, if you study history and you listen to some speeches Malcolm X gave in 1965, we know, or, you know, 61, whatever, you know, we know that those speeches could have been given right now. They could be given today. If you listen to what Du Boyce wrote, you know, so long ago, he could have wrote that last week. And so I encourage black people to, at the very least, learn how to separate the substance from the flash. Learn how to know what real progress actually feels like versus the perception of progress. You know, substance versus symbolism, right? And because a lot of people have been lying to you. They've been telling you that we've made all this progress. But when you really measure what progress was made, we find that in the last 50 years, educationally, a big chunk of our community has gone backward. The only people that didn't go backward were the people who got off the grid and did it their own way and came up with their own secret sauce. The community at large, educationally, has gone backward, where you've got massive cities, some of these cities run by black folks, some cities run by politicians that we support, that where a big chunk of the kids can't even read at grade level. If you look at economics, black wealth is dropping. In fact, I think I saw something the other day that said we're the only ethnic group that has less wealth than we had 20 or 30 years ago. It's something, I got to look at the exact stat. Yeah, something like that, right? When you talk about family structure, I mean, my God, what have they done to our families? And so what I really think has to occur and is we have to make it simple. I believe focusing simply on that word love will carry you to a lot of places. Love is, in my view, the most powerful force in the universe. I choose love. It is incredibly strong. Love is a life force that literally led to our existing on this planet. And the reason I say start with love is because if you really focus on loving yourself and loving each other and loving your people, then a person who is adequately loved, they don't need to go seek validation from anybody else because you love yourself. You know, a person who loves themselves and loves people that look like them, you know, they don't need to go and leave their community to go find a good place to be. They want to be around people that are like themselves, right? A person that loves themselves can make a mistake and not see that mistake as some sort of defining attribute that limits you for the rest of your life. So if I'm a black man who, you know, maybe made a mistake when I was young and maybe I got sent to jail because of the laws and bad attorneys or whatever, I'm not going to let that define me in a way that limits all of the awesome possibilities that God put inside of me. And so, you know, when people ask me, I get asked all the time, what led to your transformation? How did you become whatever people think that I feel that I am right now? I don't know exactly what I am, but I know when I became that thing, and it really started with love. It started with me saying, I love Boyce. I like who he is. There's nothing wrong with this guy. You know, he screwed up in certain ways. He makes mistakes. Sometimes he said stuff in the wrong way. But I love every part of that, right? And that love, what that does is that gives you courage. You can walk into situations and you can try things and do it wrong, and you can, you know, make a mistake and embarrass yourself, but you keep on going. You know, I think that self does the exact opposite. It makes you give up. It makes you afraid. It makes you want to run away from each other, and then you run away from yourself, and it limits your possibilities and all these other things. So I really think that the word love, which actually connects very deeply to what Dr. Fraser always talked about in terms of relationships, I think that word love is a good place to start, you know, because, you know, the most important relationship, or one of the most important relationships you have, in my view, is the relationship with yourself. And then that translates into the relationships you have with each other. And as I'm sure Dr. Fraser will explain, and I'll stop talking after I say this, is that if black people simply start working extra hard on having the best relationships we possibly can with other black people, we will win. You know, because healthy relationships, that breeds marriage, healthy marriages, that breeds friendships, that breeds economic relationships, that breeds education. I mean, you know, Dr. Fraser and I are great friends because Dr. Fraser is just a good guy. And every time I talk to him, I know this guy loves me. I love him back, you know, and it creates that reciprocity where he said he'll go to war with me. I'd go to war with him. And so find those people in your life that understand what love looks like, and they lead with love and respect and all these other good things. And those are people that you can build with, right? And that's important to understand, that this power game that we're playing, this economic game that we're playing, all these games that we're trying to play right now with other communities, the white community, the Asian community, the Jewish community, et cetera, these are all team sports. These are team sports. And the challenge that we have to overcome is that during slavery, we were really forced and trained to not operate as a team. So we have a lot of people that are playing as individuals in a team sport. And I can tell you, you could be the best basketball player on the planet, but you can't win an NBA title by yourself. You know, you can't win a Super Bowl with one really good quarterback. You need an entire team. So who's your team? And in order to maintain that team, you must be able to relate to one another. And I think love, love for your mission, love for yourself, love for each other, that's a good place to start.
Valerie, you should hit the applause button for that. I don't know if you have an applause button.
Okay, I would. Definitely. Here we go.
That was
Here
we go. There you go. The other thing I really love about Dr. Watkins, and I met him many, many years ago when he was at Syracuse, and I was speaking at Syracuse. He is a doer. He is not just an armchair philosopher. He is incredible, and can riff on almost anything. And I watch him a lot, and I love. The problem I have with watching Dr. Watkins is I can't stop watching him. But he backs all of that up with things that, in fact, he's doing. He's doing it. He's not just saying it. Right? Mama taught me many years ago, what you do speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you say. He's doing it. His entrepreneurial institute, bringing his audience into the crypto space. I mean, he's just on top of it, doing it and providing instruments, vessels, and tools, which is what we need. There are 46 million black people in America, and we all need help. He helps to provide the tools. And that's just so powerful. And that's the key.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
the
you
key.
so much. Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt. We do, Judge Brown is in the building.
I'm on, doctor.
Right. Are you on?
Thank you. Wait, Judge, you ruined it.
My two icons. So that's the offer. Chief Fraser.
Everybody knows me. I'm on here every week. I don't need any introduction on the show that has my name.
But I wanted to see. I wanted them to bring you on. This is my God.
No, that's okay. Don't
moment.
worry about it.
And I wanted.
Don't put them on a hot seat. You know, I'll just stand on.
All right.
I understand they would give me a good introduction, I hope. But I have a question for both of you good doctors. It comes to me from the mid-'60s, when I had some unfortunate experiences that centered around this matter. Everything you say, both of you, I find very commendable, and I endorse it. I would just offer this. The process of leadership implementation is often a very difficult one. Sometimes it's unpleasant, sometimes it even gets violent. The motives of those who seek or would impose leadership are not always wholesome ones. And these observations also apply to those who would give voice to ideological considerations. What are the dangers that people ought to be aware and cognizant of? What cautions must be taken? What palliatives? I say that because earlier in the week, I had the unpleasant experience of not dealing with learned, wise, intelligent, and experienced men who've actually done something with their time here. I've dealt with some people who can only be characterized charitably as trying to run a hustle. Back in the 60s, we called it either pimping the revolution or pimping the movement. And we have too many of those. They spread dysfunction. They spread ignorance. They're not learned. They try to down those who are educated and learned because they wouldn't qualify if you talked about an education and wisdom and discernment. They have an offering of flat earth / voodoo to give to the people. And that's not healthy for the people. So it's a thing to have to deal with that. How can you have a debate with someone who is so uneducated, so unwise, and so foolish that they are effectively worried about when the turtle that the rest of the world is riding on the back of is going to get to the end of the flat earth and fall off the edge when the waters cascade down. So it's kind of bad, and they get money from it. And sooner or later, we're going to have to start dealing with the fact that a lot of people that would start saying skin is automatic kin are going to turn out to be informants, agents provocateur, officers of some alphabet federal agency that would find that anything that rocks the boat is a matter to be and is against the American interest. We're going to have to start dealing with those things because I can see them developing. Any thoughts?
Dr. Fraser,
one of the things I love about Judge Brown is his questions. If you listen to his question, always embedded in Judge Brown's question are the answers to his question. He does it in such an eloquent way. But I think Judge Brown gave everybody listening the clues to righteous and good and productive and effective leadership. And Judge Brown, you're 1,000% right. Why are we not where we are supposed to be? It's leadership. Leadership. If the fish stinks, look to the head. It's leadership. So let me define, from my perspective, leadership. I think to be a leader is to be awake and alert and to be dissatisfied at all times. Yes, we have come a long way, but we have much further to go. Therefore, I am not happy, but I am motivated by a positive anger directed towards positive change. Leadership is influence. Who are we influencing? We're influencing our children, because if our children cannot see the future, they will not pay the price. Everything we do, Dr. Boyce said this earlier, everything we do for our children, just as everything our parents did, they did for us. These are characteristics of great leaders. Leadership is action, not some appointed position. No one has to appoint you to do right by your family. No one has to appoint you to do right by your community. These are clues that we look for in great leaders. And also great leaders understand that everything begins with words.
Words are the most powerful tools on earth, and they have power. Everything begins with words. This is biblical. Fraser didn't make this up. First, there was the Word. And it is through these words, this is what I love so much about both of you, Judge Brown and Dr. Watkins. Through the words, you raise consciousness. You make people aware of certain things that bring them, in a sense, to an aha. And out of that aha, that raised consciousness, something sticks in their craw and they get energized and they get excited. They get passion and passionate. And it is through this passion that they take action. And it is through action we get change. That's the system that a good leader understands. Change is a system. Words, 1. Consciousness, 2. Passion, exciting people about the idea, the aha. 3. Action and change. You don't just generally take action from just words. You pick something out of those words that turns you on, that floats your boat, that ultimately you get passionate about, you take action, and you make change. Leaders are patient, and leaders are servants. And these are the qualities I think we have to look for in good leaders and future leaders, and teach them to comport themselves in that manner. A good, and I quit with this, a good leader inspires people to have confidence in the leader. But a great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves. Mm-hmm. That is what good leaders do. Outstanding leaders go out of their way to boost the self-esteem of their people. And if people believe in themselves, it's amazing what they can accomplish. That's what a good leader does. Those are the characteristics.
Dr. Fraser, that is important. But sometimes in the process of assessing this, we have to realize or keep in mind that there's something that needs to be done about those who pursue particular leadership aspirations would destroy or impede us as a people. In other words, we have to be aware of the cultish Jim Jones type who would feed us Kool-Aid to drink, the wrong kind of Kool-Aid. And they inspire some people, particularly the weak-minded, to feel better about themselves, but they create all sorts of falsehoods and mythology that in the long and short term are very detrimental to the people, because essentially they inspire the people to just endure and do nothing rather than inspiring them to do something about their condition and circumstances.
That's right. That's right. That's right, Judge. I went on a little rant about Dr. Watkins, and I said, well, the core reason I love him is that not only is he a leader and an armchair philosopher, more important is that he's doing. You can see it's tangible. He's producing tools, providing information, giving direction and coaching and mentoring to the masses that follow him. He's doing. Those are the kinds of leaders I follow. People who, in a sense, lead like I lead. Now,
okay, but Doc, I'm not talking about you. We get you are an appropriate leader. You're a wise man and you dispense wisdom. What I'm talking about is what is our proper response to those we can tell are not doing the right thing by the people, by what they're trying to implement and the positions they're trying to install themselves in. How do we react to them? I'm not talking
you must
about
expose them.
Conscientious
You must
leadership. I'm talking about where some scoundrels are trying to impose themselves on the black consciousness.
You must expose them. You must have the courage to call them out. You do. Dr. Watkins
I
does.
do. Yes, but some people need to hear that, because it's one thing if one person that's accounted to be wise, you get a big but put in there. You sound okay, but why are you downing such and such? Well, young man, a young lady, I've seen this over the last 55, 56 years, and it's poisonous. It leads us nowhere. In fact, it hurts us. Well, how do you know that I saw it? Well, how can you tell? Because I recognize it. That's like to walk out into a forest, and the person who knows how to read signs can tell you how many deer, what kind, and when they walk through here, and where the rest of them are, and how long it's been. And you won't see anything but dirt and foliage. You see, you have to be experienced, and you have to learn these things. The other point I get is when somebody like the three of us tells certain types about something, they want to see references and citations. And sometimes it's like, look, the guy that's talking to you is the reference. He saw it. He witnessed it. He experienced it. He went through, walked the talk. He walked the walk, heard the talk, and did the deeds. You ought to listen to him. He is a source. No, I want to hear what... No, there's no reference. I was debating with some people who wanted to deny the existence of... Well, not debating. It was sort of just harassment. But the other side was saying there was no slave trade, and slave ships are a lie. You know... As a matter of fact, aliens moved the black man from Africa to the Americas. So that is just so really ranked out when it comes to being foolish. It's like science. Okay, how about truth has no truth, but truth has no face, but truth itself. And you want to deny mathematics, geometry, trigonometry, calculus, the things that enable the cell phone that you're spreading your version of foolishness on? That's just white man trying to use the black man. Okay, fine, but you saying it doesn't work, it's all a lie. Well, how does your cell phone work? See, the other point is they discourage black folk from doing the research, reading the hard copy stuff, and just simply listening to nonsense palliatives on YouTube that are supposed to make them feel good.
I agree with what you're saying. Bad leadership has been a toxin that we've dealt with for a very long time, and it's especially damaging for our community because we are targeted. And the way I've kind of processed this is I definitely think when you talk about quote-unquote black leadership, I noticed that black leadership tends to appear in a form that's different from leadership in almost any other community. You know, if you're a Republican, maybe you listen to certain people. If you're a Democrat, you listen to somebody else. If you're independent, well, it goes across the board. I would say a couple things that we've done that I think are somewhat effective to deal with some of these agent provocateurs that you're talking about. I see them, and I see people that come in, and it seems that their goal is they're like the Joker in Batman. The Joker wasn't really trying to accomplish anything, and the way I've countered that is basically understanding that it's sometimes it's a matter of how strong the message resonates. I'm a big believer in one, black people must make it a priority to control as much media as we possibly can. Those who care about the community, we have to own media. We have to control that. We were always very strategic in making sure that we had as much media as possible and that it was independent of any of these outside influences. Number two,
I believe black people should take control of the education of our children. And I know a lot of folks with MDs and PhDs and JDs and BAs and BSs who are literally using all that intellectual power to do things that are incredibly harmful and backward to black people. One simple example would be when you talk about this whole thing that where we were taught that if we go to a white man's university and go $100,000 in debt, we were going to improve our community. Half of all black college graduates can't even repay their student loans, right? So really, I think we must control as much media as possible. We must control as much of the educational process as possible. And also, we have to understand that the more effective we are, and I think you all understand, you're both great men, and I defer to you on every level. And so one of the other things that we have done in terms of dealing with some of the silliness that's out here is I believe deeply in decentralized black leadership. I believe black leadership needs to be family by family, where you empower as many thousands of people, millions of people to lead themselves and lead their own household. And so I would never let anybody just call me any kind of a black leader. I say, look, I'm an advisor. You're the leader. You're leading your household. You're leading your children. And I think that that's some sort of decentralization, also institutional leadership, where we rebuild our institutions, leadership by committee, where we have experts that provide facts and information from all walks of life, that as opposed to everybody just listening to whatever Al Sharpton has to say. No disrespect to Al Sharpton, but some have questioned and challenged his leadership. So at the end of the day, I'll summarize it by saying it's a little bit like this. Let's say that you work for Coca-Cola, and your goal is to get the whole world to drink Coke because you feel like it's the best drink in the world. But there are some people out here that want to drink Pepsi. And Pepsi's going to, when you run ad campaigns for Coke, they're going to run ad campaigns for Pepsi. And who wins? Well, Coca-Cola will never eliminate Pepsi. Pepsi's always going to go out and claim its market share. But at the end of the day, the team that wins is the one who is the most effective with their messaging, who has the most economic muscle behind their marketing. It pushes their idea the best, right? So our goal every day is to say, you know what? I know we got the terrible people out here. We got the provocateurs out here. We got the misinformation experts out here. And some of y'all are going to be swept up by that. But guess what? At the same time, I'm going to be right here in your face every day, answering every question and supporting you in every way that I possibly can, because I know that we're going to be a force as well. And so it doesn't solve the whole problem. And you're right. I think people need to be called out, and we can't be afraid to do that. But I think also at the same time, we know that there are always going to be enemies to black progress. That's just going to occur. And we can only learn from the past in terms of how to deal with that in the most effective way. I'm done, by the way.
Let me say something. I agree with you. Let me say something very briefly here. Everybody that has a voice ought to take every opportunity to badmouth being ignorant, being overly emotional, being irrational, and illogical. It needs to be branded as uncool and lame.
Right.
Another thing, on the political field, we always, no matter what, vote for a certain party. We always, no matter what, vote against another party. And as a consequence, there is no incentive possessed by either party to bargain with us for benefits, tangible benefits, in return for our votes. In other words, if you'll always get the person's vote, irrespective of whether you do anything for them, you've no incentive to do anything for them. And if no matter what you do try to do for them, you always get voted against no matter what, then you have no incentive to continue or to ramp up what you do for them. So we get nowhere. We get owned. We want to be part of something because there is this thing that is acknowledged. You hear about it in the media and in the papers all the time, one of the other political parties, most prominently the Democratic Party. So I guess a lot of black folk with a need to feel like they belong want to go that way, even if they get absolutely nothing out of it. and even if you elect people who look like you instead of being your leadership, they're surrogates for somebody else, and your interests come in way behind everybody else's. So we need to start pushing being rational, logical, reasonable, and analytical. We've been through a 55-year-long program of negative pop propaganda that's created a negative dialectical spiral that leads ever down. We don't have what we used to have. If you looked at a few movies they had black folk in back in the 50s and 60s, generally the black people, if they weren't conforming to a negative stereotype, were about the business of working, going to college. Now you find that after 50 years of certain types taking the top positions in Hollywood, they found they can make a lot of money on appealing to the lowest black denominator. But you see, that's still fostered. Even rap music has stagnated for 40 years. There's been no new music in the black community. We used to have a complete paradigm shift every 5 to 10 years. In other words, there's no way your parents are going to dance to rhythm, same sampling. This has gotten dirtier and more dysfunctional, but it's the same. So we have stagnated. We haven't even invented any new music genre for 40 years. So what do we do? Where are we going? How do we get to people? And yes, you have some solutions. I have some. Both of you doctors do. But we need to get it out there and present it more forcefully and be intolerant of ignorance, stupidity, narrow-mindedness, superstition, and those who are hustling for personal gain, whether they're just the voice or whether they're actually trying to function as leadership. And frankly, I'm not a fan of the Reverend Al Sharpton. I'll ask, does he have a church, a congregation? Lost a lot of weight, and he's trying to do his boyfriend James Brown's dance up behind the pulpit most recently. You know, what is this? Why is it that when we have so many young black girls who are getting pregnant out of wedlock, for goodness sakes, act like you've got some class and maybe you won't get talked about? I mean, why are we angling and not speaking out against these things and negating shame and embarrassment, which have always been mechanisms that have caused humans to behave appropriately and acceptably? What is with us?
I'll just say that I don't know exactly what it is. You know, I can tell you this though. What I found this past week was that there's millions of people who understand exactly where you're coming from, and that's enough to build your army. You know, and the thing is, what I have found is that, you know, my army ain't everybody's army, you know, but my army is still my army, you know, and so while I don't necessarily know how to, there's some places and some people I can't build a bridge to some of those people. You know, some people unfortunately have been so affected by ideas that I don't understand, that I don't really know exactly how to persuade or connect with them. But I also find that that I can also challenge you by simply providing an alternative that is that I believe is better than whatever you've been exposed to. You know, like I remember what was it when Elijah Muhammad, I think, said to Malcolm in the movie. I don't even know if he really said this, but I like the statement where he said that if people are used to drinking dirty water, you don't have to tell them that the water is dirty and tell them why it's unhealthy. You just put a glass of clean water right next to it. And I think that's an effective way to kind of say, look, whatever's out there, if that's working for you, then by all means go for it. But here's something else over here. And what I have found...
I like that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, you agree? Okay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when we present people with truth and love, I don't have to talk them into changing their mind. And so what I have found is that there are a lot of people where if you just present them with another way of viewing the world, they'll come along. You don't even have to talk to them about it. You don't have to say a word about whatever they were looking at in the first place. A lot of people will end up rejecting it on their own. That's what I have seen.
Dr. Watkins, you are perceptive in that. Some people have converted perspectives into firm beliefs because they don't know any better. They've never had to deal with objectivity and rationality in their lives. And it's all about an emotional up and down, an emotional roller coaster, this way, that way. And, it's crazy. And then when they run into somebody that's offering that clean glass of water as contrasted to the dirty water, they try to attack it because it is a contrast that makes the dysfunction that they're pushing quite obvious. So they attack it. Not saying that anytime you're doing something right or meritorious, you're not going to run into some opposition, some adversity, because there are too many people that personally and individually profit off of dysfunction to pass up the opportunity of destroying an alternative to dysfunction, because that's how they make what they get. Anyway,
I think I love the analogy of dirty water versus clean water, and maybe I love it because it is so connected to what I'm going to say as simply as humanly possible, and that is, Judge, Dr. Watkins, Dr. Fraser, and those of a like mind, keep talking and keep going. You're the clean water, and you'll hold this metaphorical glass of clean water up to anything that is currently being done. And if we keep talking it, and Judge touched on it a bit in his last statement, we have to talk louder, actually. As much as we're doing, we have to do more, actually. And we have to find as many megaphones to as many tributaries and pathways to our people, wherever they gather, because the conditions are the same. I've said this a million times. I've given over 2,500 speeches. I've been every place that black people have been dispersed. From San Diego to Maine, from Seattle to Miami, from Kingston to the Cameroon, Bahia, and the state of our people. It's just amazing to me, the state of our people, certainly the economic state of our people, wherever we go, is exactly the same. So there is a tremendous amount of work to do. It's intergenerational work. And you said something right at the beginning, Dr. Watkins, about we're laying the foundations, and we're having a new conversation, and there are many that are listening. The demand for me to talk is far beyond the time and capacity that I have to fulfill that demand. The same for you, Dr. Watkins, the same for you, Judge Brown. And if we just keep saying what we're saying, for as long as God gives us life, that's our commitment to our people. That's the clean water. Others will see it, compare it to what they currently have, and they will come aboard. That's why we have to understand that this is an intergenerational challenge. That we are not going to get to our promised land, and you said it earlier, Dr. Watkins. Certainly we will not get there in our lifetime. But no one will ever be able to say that we were not, in a sense, the Black Paul Reveres. That we're not on our horses using every megaphone, every opportunity to speak our truth. There will be some that will hear it, and they'll come aboard. Many that don't, and they'll do whatever they're going to do. You're not going to fix them. You're not going to fix them. And don't waste your time to try to fix people that when you reach down to lift them up, they got their arms folded. They're not interested. You're wasting your breath. Work on those who are down and their hands are up. And it's easy for you to reach down and to grab those hands and to lift them up. Put your work while you have this time. That's the biggest freaking mistake we make. We think we have time. As I tell people, do anything but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time, and I'm not going to allow you to waste it. You will always know how much money you have, but you will never know how much time you have. So every minute is precious, because what you're saying, Judge, your thoughts, you've forgotten more than most know with your experience and your wisdom. And Dr. Watkins the same. You just have to keep talking for as long as you have breath. You're the clean water. I'm the clean water. And there are others. We're not the only ones. And we haven't reached critical mass. But we're making inroads. And in my 76 years, I have seen movement forward, progress, some movement backward, some movement sideways, some movement again forward. And we have to stay focused on what we are talking about, because it is what needs to be talked about in this time. I don't know how to get a bigger platform. I'm not that celebrity television guy. I just know that I'm effective in the platforms that God gives me. As Judge Brown, you are very effective in this platform that God has given you, and Dr. Boyce and social media and the things that you're doing. You're very, very effective, and we must have that. You're a model. We're models, actually. All of our people need help. There's 46 million of us in this country and 1.4 billion on the continent. We all need help. And there are not enough voices. But if we keep talking and keep saying what we're saying, something will happen. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow.
Thank you so much for that. I want to do a time check. Dr. B, how much time you got with us? And then I have a question for the three of you.
Well, I've got
Dr. Fraser, let me interject something. I'm not as good as I used to be, but most of the time I'm better than I ever was.
There you go. There you go.
Well, let me say this, Valerie. I've got to actually go with the hour. But I'll say, to add to the great points that were made earlier, it reminds me of the importance and necessity of masculine leadership.
which these two gentlemen represent, which is one of the reasons I respect them so much. Not that the women don't have a very important role. We know this, but you got to have some men in there too. You got to have your masculinity. Look around at, look at the way the NBA and the NFL, how do they get the best athletes in the world? Well, they have training camps in every city where when your child is 7 years old, if he's big for his age, some coach comes up and says to the child's mother, when are you going to bring your son out for basketball? When are you going to bring him out for football? So because of these thousands and thousands of training camps around the country that are indoctrinating little black boys into basketball, football, hip-hop, whatever, we have millions of black people that are all part of that culture, right? So I would say the same thing must be true when it comes to black excellence, when it comes to education, when it comes to our economic beliefs and ideologies. We must literally reclaim that educational process and systematize it so that we can mass produce so many black people that are on the same page economically and ideologically. That's just my 2 cents. I think that industrialization of what we believe is one of the keys to our power. And we will win this war because we can't lose.